But he also announced a stunning reciprocal gift, an exclusive sponsorship deal worth tens of millions of dollars annually for Ila. According
The most shocking deal in tennis history. Alex LA's $13.50 million Netflix empire and the donation that left the entire world speechless. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, the absolute #1 destination on the entire internet for the hottest, most explosive, and most jaw-dropping tennis news on the planet. I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now. Pause the music, put down the coffee, and tell whoever is in the room with you to come watch this. Because what we are about to unpack today is not just a tennis story. This is a cultural earthquake. This is a generational moment. This is the kind of story that you will be telling your grandchildren about one day, saying that you were watching Champions Tennisitics the very moment you found out. We have a bombshell of absolutely nuclear proportions sitting on our desk today, and it involves the most electrifying young talent in world tennis, a streaming giant with billions of dollars to spend, and one of the most breathtakingly generous acts of philanthropy the sporting world has ever witnessed from a 20-year-old athlete. The tennis establishment has been completely rocked to its foundation. The global sports media is scrambling to keep up, and the Philippines has never been prouder. So buckle up tight, friends, because today we are going all in on the monumental, record-shattering, history-making story of Alexandra Ila. And trust me when I tell you, this one goes so much deeper than you think. Let us set the scene properly, because this story deserves its full, cinematic introduction. Picture this. It is early 2026. The WTA Tour is in full, ferocious swing. The world's best female tennis players are grinding through one of the most brutally competitive seasons in recent memory. Courts across the globe are being lit up by elite talent, massive serves, and breathtaking baseline battles. And quietly, methodically, almost like a force of nature that nobody saw coming until it was already upon them, a 20-year-old girl from the Philippines has climbed to world number 31 and positioned herself squarely in the conversation among the very best players on earth. Her name is Alexandra Ila, and the world, it seems, has finally caught up to what the Philippines has known all along. This young woman is something genuinely, spectacularly special. Now, on top of everything she is already achieving between the lines, the off-court news that has just dropped is so staggering, so unprecedented, that it has sent shockwaves far beyond the tight-knit world of tennis and straight into the global mainstream conversation. Champions Tennisitics can confirm, with total, absolute certainty, that Alexandra Ila has officially signed a colossal, record-breaking $13.5 million deal with none other than Netflix, the most powerful streaming platform on the face of the earth. Say that number out loud. $13.5 million. For a 20-year-old athlete who, just a few years ago, was grinding through the junior circuit and dreaming of one day making her mark on the WTA Tour. The scale of this moment is almost incomprehensible, and we are only just getting started. Netflix, the platform that has already shaken the sports documentary world with productions that changed how we think about basketball, Formula One, and football, has officially turned its enormous, all-seeing eye to the world of women's tennis, and it has chosen Alexandra Ila as its subject. The deal, which our insider sources are describing as one of the most significant sports media agreements involving an Asian athlete in the history of the streaming era, will fund a massive, high-budget, 7-episode premium docuseries that promises to be unlike anything we have ever seen in the world of tennis content. Now, before you start imagining another polished, carefully managed, PR-approved puff piece where an athlete sits in a nice outfit and talks about how much they love the game.
I think yan yung talagang pinaka nakakaiyak sa akin is when they play Lupang Hinirang or any like the national anthem and parang matagal.
Let us stop you right there. Because insider sources close to the production are already making it crystal clear that this is absolutely not that kind of project. The people behind this series are describing it as raw, unfiltered, deeply cinematic, and genuinely emotionally powerful. They are talking about a production that will strip away every layer of the carefully curated public image and show the world the real Alexandra Ila in full, breathtaking, unguarded detail. We are talking about cameras following her through the brutal, dawn-to-dusk training sessions at the legendary Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, where she has spent years forging herself into the weapon she is today. We are talking about intimate, honest moments with her family, capturing the enormous emotional weight of carrying the hopes and dreams of over 100 million Filipinos on your shoulders every single time you walk onto a tennis court. We are talking about the quiet, lonely hotel rooms at 2 in the morning after a painful loss, where no amount of fame or ranking points makes the heartbreak any easier. And we are talking about the absolute, euphoric, once-in-a-lifetime explosions of joy when all that sacrifice finally pays off in front of the entire world. The 7 episodes will reportedly span her entire journey, from her earliest memories of picking up a racket in Quezon City, through the grind and glory of the junior circuit, all the way to the historic, landmark moments that have made her a household name from Manila to Miami and everywhere in between. Exclusive, never-before-seen footage, unguarded locker room conversations, behind-the-scenes access to the pressure cooker environment of the WTA Tour's biggest stages, deep tactical discussions with her coach Joan Bosch, and real, unscripted human moments that will make you laugh, cry, and pump your fist all within the same episode. This is the kind of content that wins Emmy Awards and changes careers, and Netflix has clearly invested at $13.5 million precisely, because they know that Alexandra Ila's story is one of the most compelling, marketable, and genuinely moving narratives in all of sport right now. But here is where the story transforms from exciting to absolutely extraordinary. Here is the moment where Alexandra Ila stops being just a brilliant athlete and becomes something altogether more rare and precious. In a press release that accompanied the announcement of the Netflix deal, a press release that has since been shared millions of times across every social media platform on Earth, Ila announced that she will be donating a highly significant portion of her $13.5 million Netflix earnings directly to youth tennis development programs and sports education initiatives around the world. Read that sentence again. Let it land properly. This 20-year-old young woman, at the very moment of her biggest financial windfall, at the exact point where most athletes would be calling their financial advisors about real estate portfolios and luxury car purchases, chose instead to look outward. She chose the children who are right now, in this very moment, dreaming of picking up a tennis racket but cannot afford one. She chose the underfunded community programs in developing nations where raw, extraordinary talent is withering on the vine simply because the resources are not there. She chose the future of the sport over the comfort of the present. And in doing so, she has ignited a firestorm of global admiration so intense, so genuinely emotional, that even veteran sports journalists who have covered everything from World Cup finals to Olympic ceremonies are struggling to find adequate words to describe it. The reaction on social media has been nothing short of seismic. Within hours of the announcement, Ila's name was trending in over 40 countries simultaneously. Messages of awe, love, and deep, heartfelt respect poured in from every corner of the globe. Fellow athletes, many of them giants of their own sports, took to their platforms to publicly salute her generosity. Sports commentators and television personalities who had never covered a single tennis match in their careers were suddenly talking about Alexandra Ila in prime time. In the Philippines, the scenes were indescribable. Proud, tearful fans celebrated in the streets, sharing the news with the same energy reserved for national holidays and championship victories. Government officials released public statements of commendation. Sports organizations from across the region hailed her as a once-in-a-generation ambassador, not just for tennis, not just for the Philippines, but for the very idea of what sport can mean when it is practiced at the intersection of elite excellence and genuine human kindness. And perhaps most tellingly of all, young children in grassroots tennis programs across Southeast Asia, Africa, and South America began seeing their pictures and stories shared on global platforms, as the conversation quickly turned to exactly which programs Ila's donation would benefit and how many young lives would be fundamentally, irreversibly changed as a direct result of her extraordinary generosity. Now, to truly appreciate why Netflix was willing to back up the proverbial truck and write a $13.5 million check for a docuseries about a 20-year-old tennis player, you need to understand the almost supernatural trajectory of Alexandra Ila's career, because this story did not begin with a Netflix deal. It began with years of quiet, ferocious, unglamorous work, most of it conducted far from the spotlight, in the kind of grinding, repetitive, physically punishing daily existence that most people could not endure for a single week, let alone an entire adolescence. Ela, who was born in Quezon City and identified as a prodigious talent at a very young age, eventually earned a scholarship to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, where she would spend years developing her game under the watchful eye of some of the best coaches in the sport. It was there that the extraordinary technical foundation was laid, the fierce baseline game, the lethal two-handed backhand that opponents have come to genuinely dread, the tactical intelligence that belies her age, and the mental fortitude that has become perhaps her most defining characteristic of all. Her junior career was exceptional by any objective measure. She became a multiple Grand Slam junior champion, and her results on the junior circuit attracted serious attention from across the tennis world. But the real story, the one that Netflix is now paying $13.5 million to tell, is what happened when she made the brutal, unforgiving transition to the senior WTA Tour. Because that transition, for almost every junior prodigy no matter how talented, is where dreams go to face their most severe test. The professional circuit is a different world entirely. The margins are razor thin, the competition is relentless, the travel is exhausting, and the mental pressure is unlike anything the junior circuit can adequately prepare you for. Many phenomenally talented junior champions have struggled for years, or sometimes indefinitely, to translate their early promise into sustained success at the senior level. Ela, however, was not reading from that particular script. The 2025 season was the year Alexandra Ela formally, loudly, and unmistakably announced herself to the global tennis community as a genuine force to be reckoned with at the very highest level. And she did it in the most dramatic, heart-stopping, tabloid-worthy fashion imaginable. Cast your memory back to the Miami Open of 2025, one of the most prestigious and fiercely contested WTA 1000 events on the calendar. Ela arrived in Miami as a relative underdog, a young player with enormous potential, but still working to establish herself consistently against the absolute elite. What followed was one of the most jaw-dropping, adrenaline-soaked tournament runs that WTA fans had witnessed in years. Match after match, Ela faced down Grand Slam champions, players with decades of combined experience at the top of the sport, and dispatched them with a composure and a clinical precision that had the tennis world shaking its collective head in disbelief. She went on an extraordinary run that culminated in a semifinal appearance at a WTA 1000 event, a milestone that represented an enormous leap in her standing within the sport and a declaration of genuine, undeniable intent. But if Miami was the announcement, then the 2025 US Open was the coronation. Or rather, it was something even more powerful than a coronation. It was a moment of pure, unscripted sporting drama, so perfectly constructed that if a screenwriter had submitted it as a fictional plot, they would have been told it was too far-fetched. Alexandra Ela became the first Filipino player in the entire history of the Open era to win a Grand Slam main draw singles match. Full stop. Think about the enormity of that statement. The Open era of tennis stretches back to 1968. Decades of Grand Slam tournaments, thousands upon thousands of matches, a sport that has produced legends whose names are etched permanently into the cultural fabric of our civilization. And not once, in all of that time, had a Filipino player won a main draw singles match at a Grand Slam tournament. Until Alexandra Ela walked onto the hard courts of Flushing Meadows in 2025 and changed history forever. And she did not do it easily or cleanly or without drama, because that is simply not how legendary moments are made. Facing Denmark's Clara Tauson in a match that went the full 3 sets and tested every single ounce of Ela's physical and mental reserves, she found herself in a genuinely desperate position, trailing 5-1 in the deciding final set. At that point, with the crowd watching and the scoreboard telling a story of imminent defeat, most players would have mentally conceded, focused on playing themselves back into form for the next tournament, and accepted the result. Ela did not accept the result. Ela clawed back, game by agonizing game, fighting through a fog of physical exhaustion and the enormous psychological weight of a nation watching from thousands of miles away, until she had pulled level and forced a final set tiebreak. And then, In the most electric, charged, emotionally overwhelming atmosphere imaginable, she won it. She won the tiebreak. She won the match. She won her place in history. When she collapsed onto the court in tears, the entire tennis world wept alongside her. And social media in the Philippines essentially broke apart at the seams as hundreds of millions of people shared in the joy of a moment that transcended sport entirely and entered the realm of genuine national mythology. She was not finished with 2025 either, not by a long stretch. Following the US Open heroics, Ila went on to claim her first ever WTA 125 title in Guadalajara, Mexico, dismantling Hungary's Punna Udvardy in a performance of controlled, dominant, utterly authoritative tennis that suggested a player operating with a new level of confidence and belief. And if that was not enough, she then delivered the ultimate gift to her homeland by ending a 26-year gold medal drought for the Philippines at the Southeast Asian Games. 26 years, a quarter of a century, and it was Alexandra Ila who finally, gloriously, ended that agonizing wait, delivering a victory that resonated through Filipino culture with the force of something far greater than mere athletic achievement. It was a statement about resilience, about national pride, about the power of investing in sporting excellence, and about one extraordinary young woman's refusal to accept anything less than everything she had worked so hard for. Roll forward now into 2026, and if you thought the ascent was going to slow down, you have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of Alexandra Ila. Just weeks ago, at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships, she served notice on the entire WTA Tour that the best is absolutely yet to come. The scene at the Dubai venue was extraordinary in itself. The crowd, predominantly Filipino fans who had traveled from across the region and beyond to support their hero, turned a tournament in the United Arab Emirates into something that felt, by all breathless accounts from those who were there, like a home match in the heart of Manila. The noise was deafening. The atmosphere was electric. The passion was of the kind that you normally only associate with football stadiums on the greatest nights of the club calendar. And Ila, feeding off that extraordinary energy, produced the kind of performance that makes highlight reels. In the round of 32,
The dream run continues.
Is not a player you dominate. He is not a player you blow off the court with routine efficiency. She is a Grand Slam finalist, a top 10 warrior, and a formidable, experienced professional who has beaten the best in the world repeatedly. Ila destroyed her 6-1, 7-6. She did not just beat Jasmine Paolini. She made a statement so loud, so emphatic, so impossible to ignore that the entire WTA locker room received the message simultaneously and without ambiguity. Alexandra Ila has arrived. She is not leaving, and she is coming for all of you. Third career victory over a top 10 ranked player, a statistic that, when placed alongside her age and her rapidly climbing world ranking, paints the picture of a player whose ceiling remains utterly, tantalizingly, thrillingly unknown. Even when her Dubai run was eventually brought to a halt by the current world number 4, Coco Gauff, the story did not end there, because Gauff herself felt compelled to speak publicly about the Ila phenomenon in terms that were genuinely remarkable coming from a Grand Slam champion who has seen everything the tennis world has to offer. Gauff smiled and told the assembled press with unmistakable admiration that she wanted to thank Alex for bringing a whole new demographic to the sport, that it was genuinely great for tennis, and that if you cannot beat them, you should join them.
Mostly supporting Alex, but I have to say it is great to be on a crowded court. I've played this tournament for many years, and to see the stadium full, it means a lot. And
when a player of Coco Gauff's stature and accomplishment is publicly marveling at the cultural gravitational pull of your fan base, when she is crediting you with expanding the global reach and appeal of professional tennis, you have achieved something that no world ranking number can fully capture. You have become a phenomenon. So let us bring all of these extraordinary threads together and talk about what we can genuinely expect from the Netflix docuseries when it finally arrives on our screens. Based on everything that insider sources are describing, based on the $13.5 million budget Netflix has committed, and based on the sheer richness and emotional depth of Ila's story, this series has all the ingredients to become one of the definitive sports documentaries of our era. We are looking at a production that will likely take audiences from the sunlit streets of Quezon City to the pristine clay courts of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, from the roaring crowd of a Grand Slam center court to the quiet intimacy of a family dinner where a young woman carries the weight of national expectation on shoulders that somehow remain unbowed. We will see Joan Bosch, her coaching architect, dissecting the tactical details that separate good players from great ones and great players from generational talents. We will see the physical toll of a professional tennis season laid completely bare, the injuries, the exhaustion, the ice baths and the treatment tables, and the early morning alarm clocks that go off whether you won yesterday or lost. We will see the mental gymnastics required to stay focused and motivated when the pressure of 100 million watching eyes never, ever fully lifts. And we will see, critically and movingly, exactly where that extraordinary philanthropic donation is going. The series will reportedly devote significant screen time to the grassroots programs and youth development initiatives that ELA's donation is directly funding.
Sponsorship deal worth tens of millions of dollars annually for ELA. According to published information, this sponsorship package will cover